of the images that Jesus uses in John's Gospel in the I am sayings. I am the gate is in some ways one of the harder ones to talk about or to see or to trace biblically. But gates had a hugely important function for safety, for protection, for marking the boundaries of a community. Gates were the way that people entered and departed from a city. And so that's why I thought having a couple days with Nehemiah, which writes more about physical gates perhaps than any other book in the Bible. And so today I want to direct your attention to Nehemiah chapter 3, verses 1 through 6, where the work of repairing the gates is really getting going in earnest. And our verse of the day is verse 1, which says, Then the high priest Eliashib set to work with his fellow priests and rebuild the sheep gate. They consecrated it and set up its doors. They consecrated it as far as the Tower of the 100 and as far as the Tower of Hananel. And again, we get quite detailed descriptions of rebuilding gates here in Nehemiah chapter 3, and talking about then the fish gate and the old gate, and how they put up the doors and the bolts and the bars and beams. And so what does this have to do with you and me today? Why is this important? Well, why were they repairing gates in Jerusalem? They were repairing them because having no gates, having no doors, made them incredibly vulnerable to attack from enemies. And part of what gates do is they define the boundary of a community, and they help to provide safety and protection against enemies. And so in Nehemiah's time, that meant there was a whole lot of work that had to be done. And for us in our time, and maybe in your life, if you think about gates in terms of boundaries, those are important for all of us to have. And some boundaries are ones that we actually put up for our own protection, just as the gates in the city of Jerusalem were for its protection. And so having boundaries around what sort of things am I going to read? What sort of things will I watch online or on the internet or on television? When do I look at my phone? When do I take a break from technology? How do I handle relationships with toxic people who don't bring out the best in me, or who I have trouble relating to appropriately? In a sense, these are all ways of having boundaries or gates that enable us to have a sense of wholeness and safety and well-being. So I encourage you to think about the gates you have in your own life today and what kind of condition they may be in.